Yep.
Oh, okay, great. Good evening. Welcome to the July 16th meeting of the Bow Planning Board. Sandy Crystal, Vice Chair.
Good McDaniel, Select Board Rep.
Mary Mackinnon, Community Development Director. Jess Duke, 50 Brown Hill Road.
Kristen Hayden, 2 Colonial Terrace.
Casey Stefano, 4 Hopkiln Road.
Levi Berry, 19 Lowell Drive.
Ben Davis, 9 Wheeler Road.
Okay. So I think we're going to, given what we have on the agenda, we're going to take item number, application number 3, Global Montello Group Corporation, first, because it's a very simple request, and so that's application 408, Global Montello Group Corporation, sign ordinance, reasonable exception, conditional use permit to add a digital diesel price sign to the existing high-rise sign located at 1516 Route 3A.
All right, we have Carolyn Parker on speaker. It sounds a little crackly. Can you hear us, Carolyn?
Yes, I put it on speaker.
Okay, you're pretty crackly.
Do we just want to summarize what the application is?
I can do that, and if we have questions for her, you can
So
ask.
Carolyn, if we have questions for you, we'll ask you, but just based on
I'll
the
give-
quality of the audio, Carrie's gonna summarize the application and we'll go through the process, so.
All right, so this,
Sound better?
no.
No.
No, you sound like a robot, so.
Underwater, yes. All right, so this is a conditional use permit for a reasonable exception from the sign regulations. It's for the Global Montello Group at 1516 Route 3A. There is an existing, they call it a high-rise sign. It's a tall, like a pylon. It has the pilot sign on currently. They're changing it to say global. And the proposal is just to add a digital sign that will have the current diesel price. So this existing sign won't be getting any taller. It'll just be a new section will be added to it below the global at the top.
Would you be able to share it?
So,
I'll make a motion to accept the application as complete.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Looking at what we can see and that other people can see, it's so minor, I have no other questions, certainly. It's filling a blank space with information. It's your public hearing.
Yeah, we're always waiting for.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
There it is. So the left
So if you wanna
side,
look at it.
the left
Okay.
side shows the existing, and then the right side shows, the face of these existing pieces are proposed to be changed, but that's not part of this application, because they're the same size, they're already there. It's just this diesel price sign right in the middle, that's the new part. So it just adds some additional square footage to the existing non-conforming sign. Switch this over. So it's visible from 93.
Okay, so we'll open the public hearing on this application. Anybody has any comments to provide? No, okay, as we close the, no gavel.
Oh, sorry,
It's okay.
I can go get it.
I'll make a motion, this does not have a regional impact.
I'll second.
Sorry.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
And then she did provide responses to the conditional use criteria. So the use is specifically authorized.
Could you speak more loudly?
Yeah, sure. The use is specifically authorized. It will comply with all the requirements of the article. It won't endanger the public health or safety. It's compatible with the neighborhood, will not have a substantial adverse impact on highway or pedestrian safety. or on natural resources, and adequately serviced by public utilities. So those are the criteria they need to meet. You can read her responses.
Is there any clearing proposed to have a better view of the sign at all?
I believe Carolyn mentioned that they might need to clear a little bit. Is that true?
Carolyn, do you need to clear any foliage for the sign visibility?
Yes.
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 It's supposed to be
What do
in
you-
the summer, in the winter, you can see it a little better, obviously.
You're saying in the winter you can see it better than in the summer for obvious reasons.
Right, and we will have a structural engineer, doing something to make sure that that sign is properly attached.
And they'll have a structural engineer to make sure the sign is properly attached, is what she said.
That'll be reviewed by the building inspector when they have their building permit for it.
Perfect.
Thanks, Carolyn.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Does anyone have any conditions of approval they'd like to attach to it?
No.
I'll make a motion to approve application 408-26 Lower Montello Group Corporation for adding a diesel sign to the existing structure.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay.
Finding of fact,
Thank you for not being these signs,
yeah, no,
Yeah, she's an hour and a half away, so we didn't wanna have her.
Terry gave you good advice on that front. I'll make a motion that the finding of facts are that the structure already exists and thus adding another relatively small sign to an existing structure that provides information to the public is well within a reasonable approach to this, so that's my
Yeah.
motion.
Second.
Second, good, Jeff, okay.
Do I need, do you record the decision, do you sure about it?
Say that one more time?
Yes,
Do you record decisions?
Yes, the answer is yes,
Is
Terry.
there an appeal period?
yes. I can follow up with you tomorrow, Carolyn, if you have more questions about what happens next.
All right.
Thanks, have a good night.
All right, all those in favor, because we have a motion and a second.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, any opposed? Okay.
And then on this thing, you have the next page after the grant.
All right.
All right, thanks for the flexibility on that.
I've tried to use the phone before and it hasn't worked. It hung up on something. Anyway, okay, so the next item on the agenda is the minor modification, conceptual consultation. Thomas and Alicia Marquis, Rocade Consulting LLC, conceptual consultation for an existing roofing company.
Good evening, John Roki with Roki Consulting, with me is Tom Markey. So this is an existing house site and it's in a commercial zone on Route 3A. And what the kind of the background of it is, it was purchased as a residential house. He's running his roofing company business out of on this site. For right, wrong, or indifferent, he was running it thinking it was basically a home occupation sort of thing, but the town issued a letter saying, no, it's bigger than that, you need to do a site plan. So what I've done so far with the site is I basically did the aerial version of it that you guys all have a copy of. And I kind of laid everything out of what we would do with the site. The reason why we're here this evening is, I basically kind of want to show you, like, we have everything that's going to be proposed on this is kind of already there, and essentially there'd be like one cold storage building that we would apply for, a building permit for, but it would be an open three-sided building. Everything else, we're just showing kind of how things lay out. All the things we would do at this site can be done basically tomorrow if we just go ahead and if we make an application to the planning board and don't do a full survey of the property. If I basically lay it out like this and say, these are the things we're gonna do in the existing area. It's, the top of this hill is level. There's there's not really anything that's gonna change based on having the full survey. So what the checklist looks like, if we would come to you in this manner, I would have waivers for, you know, state grid coordinates, existing proposed contours. I would have the, you know, the 2-foot contours from the GIS. You know, soils, erosion control, drainage and grading, like, there's really none of that necessarily applies. I mean, everything is level and we're basically fitting things into the site, the way it is right now. The site would not be regraded, the access is already in place. All the components of what we would be doing, like the recycle pad, like the dumpsters, like the cold storage, like it'd be basically open storage in the open area on top. We're proposing to put like a fence around the upper edge with some landscaping around the front of it, so when you're driving by on Route 3A, you would see a fence with landscaping, you know, trees to break it up a little bit on top of the hill, make it kind of disappear from the road. I guess we're coming to see you guys this evening to see whether that's at all reasonable to request.
I drove by today, you cannot see, except for the camper up front,
Yeah.
you can see nothing from the road.
Correct. And what we're proposing is actually putting a fence and some trees along the top edge to even more enclose it.
What size of trucks are coming in and out of there?
Pickup trucks, just 2,500, you know, your everyday pickup truck.
I'm just
Pulling a
wondering,
trailer, but.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering, like, sight lines with the trees, how did they look? I know it's a pretty straight road, but is the
It's way up,
foliage-
it seems fine, cause it's this berm that goes
Okay.
up and blocks view of the property from the road.
But like sightline coming out, the
Yeah,
trucks and.
Yeah, no,
It's
sight lines on Route
Back from the
3A.
road,
Okay,
kind of thing.
okay,
Yep,
got it.
sight lines, you're good.
So I guess my question is like, this is what it looks like today. When you purchased the property, it was a residential property, but you've kind of been operating as a commercial property somewhat in your house. What did the site look like before you did that? Because you've kind of already taken the means to make it a commercial site.
It didn't look much different.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm just curious, like, I wasn't sure if there was a lot of clearing done
No.
and different.
It's in
I
pieces
added a
probably
little bit
didn't.
to the concrete pad.
in
Other than that, I
so
think
you may have.
A lot of the stuff was basically, there was a lot of clearing, like I could go back through the historical
The historical
images
photos, and
and
it's
there
not
wasn't,
a
it
huge
wasn't like
difference, okay.
wholesale cleared, there wasn't trees, I mean, it was always kind of used, you know, somewhat commercially.
Okay.
I can absolutely make a site plan application, notify all the abutters, come to you and just basically ask for a whole bunch of waivers and get it straightened away right away. If we have to go to a survey and, you know, basically fill in, I mean, that's gonna take more time. I mean, it might be later on this fall before I'm back to see you, but just making the application and asking for the waivers that can be back relatively quickly. So that's why we're here this evening, to see whether that's, you know, kind of straw poll and see whether that's a reasonable request. In this situation, like, there's no floodplain, there's no grading, there's like, it actually all can be done with just, you know, a basic plan.
Yeah,
You know,
I guess
It'll be
it's,
better than back of a napkin sort of thing, and we do have contours and you will know exactly what's going on, but we're not near the boundaries. Everything fits very easily with what we're planning on doing, so.
are the boundaries, are there bounds at the corners, so is the,
yeah, there's some things in the ground, yeah.
This is in the aquifer protection zone.
More than likely, I think almost everything down there is.
The only thing I would say is like, since it's in that area and you're storing stuff, consider that.
yeah.
My understanding is it's roofing material, which doesn't strike me as damaging, but just maybe consider that,
Yep.
so.
And so the area things are like, when they go do a job, most of their materials, you know, for the new jobs they're doing, never come to the site. They go directly to the job sites that they're doing. So there might be some material that comes back from that job site. They have a concrete pad that they're going to that got a little out of control originally, and that's what led to the violation. But now they have a concrete pad all lined up. They have all the different recycling containers all the way around. So anything that comes back to the site, they can just automatically put it into trash, metal, shingles, everything can be recycled right away now. that we can get everything organized for where everybody's gonna park. We can have some enclosed storage or covered storage anyway, and then the landscaping and a fence. So I think the site can easily be cleaned up and run well, and aquifer protection items taken into consideration without necessarily a full survey, but that's my opinion.
So is this boundary based upon,
Yeah, this is the GIS boundary that you're seeing here.
which are not
Which is
very
not very accurate.
accurate?
You're off by-
I know, with GIS, get it
Don't go up
surveyed.
Long Hill Road, man.
The survey. Well, it's just that
Yep.
the parcel doesn't match the underneath aerial imagery very well. So using those boundaries may not be correct.
Agreed. Did not know that.
Sometimes it's obvious, more obvious than others,
Sometimes
yeah.
it's like 10 feet
Some-
off.
Sometimes, but you're able to locate the bounds in the field?
Yeah.
They're identifiable?
Pins in the ground?
Yeah,
Yep.
so it,
Yeah, I could do more research on it and actually see if there's like a boundary plan that I could like draw up a little bit better and lock down where those bounds are at. And have a little bit better of a boundary shown on this, but then it's going into the survey, and so. If you guys feel that it definitely needs a survey, then that's the next step that we need to do and come back once we have a little bit more better information along those lines.
I don't know what's.
I'm not 100% comfortable not saying not to do a survey, because once you do it once, it's setting a little bit of a precedent, you know what I mean,
Yeah.
for others. And so in this situation, I personally am not comfortable doing that, but I don't know if others feel
Yeah.
differently.
No, I think also because the shape of the lot, it's kind of, between things, it just would be, would prevent future issues too,
yeah. Agreed.
Maybe get a survey.
a survey, yeah.
Yeah, we just gotta find somebody to do it.
Jacques always.
Ideally, Jacques, but
Oh, yeah.
He's around.
I can try. But that's essentially what we're here to ask you this evening. We know exactly, like we've talked with the code enforcement officer that wrote the letter. Tom's done a lot of work on the site to, correct the things that, brought about the letter. It looks dramatically better. I've been going out there this summer, and every time it's like cleaner and cleaner and cleaner, so it looks pretty good. So we'll put together a survey and come back and see you.
Awesome.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank
And
you.
then-
Thank you very much.
Okay, next item is public hearings for application number 208-26, Dennis J. Ordway Trust, 2023 Mariner Tower LLC, continued from June 18th, 2026 meeting. And then the application 407-26 for the personal wireless service facility conditional use permit for the telecommunications facility.
I already accepted this as complete.
Yes. I know we did the site walk yesterday. Actually, Carrie, I have the notes for you, I'll give you afterwards. Let's see. Trying to think. A number of things.
We received a few new documents.
Right, I see that, yes, I just noticed that there are some additional, documents here.
Did receive an additional abutter comment after the close of business this evening. It's long to read, but.
it's a two-sided.
So these notes are also combined. We combine everything, okay.
Yeah,
That's helpful, thank you.
Yeah, that's actually Matt's report, I just.
You can take credit.
Okay. All right, so there's some additional, there's some additional information, which is kind of hard to,
Would you mind going over the additional information that's come in since the last time we spoke about this?
Sure.
Okay.
Introduce yourselves first, please.
Brian Grossman again, Strang Scott and Giroux, counsel for the applicant. With me is Louis Vitale.
Manager of Mariner Town.
The two submissions you've received from us are both related to information we discussed at the last hearing, just providing some additional backup for that. The first submittal was the affidavit of Mr. Vitale. There was, in the alternatives analysis previously provided to the board, the two existing towers at 98 and 100 South Bow Road that are used by the state of New Hampshire and town of Hooksett. They've been ruled out in the alternatives analysis as not available and not structurally capable, and we just followed up on that again, just reconfirming that both the state tower at 100 South Bow Road, not structurally capable of accommodating carrier's equipment currently in its current state, nor would they make it available for private lease anyway for a personal wireless service provider. So for two reasons not available, very similar for the existing site at 98 South Bow Road, which is the tower is owned by the town of Hooksett. Again, not structurally capable of accommodating personal wireless service carrier equipment now. Also would not be made available by the town of Hooksett. And to the extent that they are looking at a potential replacement elsewhere on state property, one that is it's fairly speculative and not something that would be really a feasible alternative at this point. But even if it were something that were in the very foreseeable future, they've also stated that they would not make that available for lease for a personal wireless service carrier. So nor is a replacement. Verizon did try and the town did try and work on a potential replacement at 98 South Bow Road, and they weren't able to come to an agreement there with the underlying landowner. So for all of those reasons, those two sites continue to be unavailable as feasible as alternatives for a wireless service facility. The second the second is an email submission from EBI, who's the environmental consultant engaged by Mariner for environmental review for determination of compliance with the National Environmental Programmatic Agreement that covers a whole host of various issues, including wetlands, including tribal, including historic. And that just goes through, frankly, the information that I highlighted last time in my presentation regarding spotted turtles, regarding the monarch butterfly and the existence of wetlands and vernal pools, and why some of the comments that were made are not evidence of the existence of spotted turtle habitat or monarch butterfly habitat, and there won't be any impact on wetlands or vernal pools. All of the information I shared during my presentation last time, it came from that email.
is it possible to get the original data check results that DES provided?
I would assume so.
I would assume so,
Yeah, I think, I mean, that's what we usually,
if it wasn't included in the.
I don't think it was, I didn't see it in any of the material that we had. I think, given that there was, I know there was, some of the information talked about the turtle that was 4/10 of a mile away. But, it would be good to see the original data from DES.
How did the sidewalk go?
It was fine. We walked up.
Trudged through the woods.
kind of looked around.
Don't think I got Lyme disease, but we'll
All right,
find out
actually,
soon.
I actually had one tick, on the way home, I had one tick walking up my pants, but that was it.
I didn't check, it's all good.
I guess the other thing, and you can check with your wetland scientist, is that when we were out in the field and below, I think the lower wetland, we had looked at the area when we're talking about the drainage. And it looks like there's, I guess, what I would call an ephemeral stream. And you're not proposing, I don't think it's proposed to, you know, in an area to be filled, but I think that it was visible on the LiDAR. And so when we went out there, I took a look, and I know there were some comments about the amount of water, but given the criteria that DES has, it wouldn't be intermittent or perennial stream because it's full of leaves, but it is a channel there that comes out of the wetland, and so it probably should be identified as an ephemeral stream. So you can check with your wetland scientist.
Did you discuss that yesterday with Audra?
I did mention it to Audra.
Did we request a third-party review for stormwater?
We talked about that. I don't think that we
haven't yet, no.
made a decision on that. I think that that would be what we would talk about today.
Just so I make sure I have the question right for the environmental scientist, is the question just, has it been identified and shown on the plans, or is there more of a related question?
Yeah, it's, that it looks like there's an ephemeral stream coming out of the lower wetland that would be.
Out of, I don't know if you can see my cursor there.
The one on the right.
Yeah.
Out of this wetland?
Yeah.
Okay. And then where does it go?
It just, you know, if you're able to show the LiDAR, you can see it, but
It's from this wetland.
it's from the lower wetland, the smaller, I think it's from the smaller wetland. And you can actually see on the topo, there are the topographic lines sort of point upward below it. And that's kind of the location of the channel. All right. I know we talked about the stormwater, and I think that it would be good to have a third-party review. I think other people have expressed that.
There are a lot of things in the report that I would say are not standard engineering practice when I was reading through it, as far as like if you're adding a lot of impervious area, and typically when you do that, there's something called the CN value, which is how much water can get into the ground. And in this case, your CN values are going down, which means more water can absorb into the ground. And if you're adding impervious area, it should go the opposite direction. Minimum time of concentration is typically 5 minutes for anything, and you have time of concentration of like 2 minutes, 3 minutes. And 5 minutes is just like road runoff on a highway. So, I mean, it's not even remotely standard engineering practice, I guess.
Yeah, I guess.
Your name, please?
Sylvester.
Yeah,
I'm the
you can come up
consultant.
here.
I am
Just spell your last
Sylvester
name.
Bembe, that's BHEMBE.
Good, thank you.
Yes, so what's happening here is there's woods and grass existing. We're replacing that with better grass, new. So that's basically already improving it just by replacing old grass with actually good permeable grass. And our gravel that we're ending is really, even though it's considered impervious, but it's crushed stone.
It's
So-
still impervious though.
Yeah, yes,
It'll
that's,
still be, like, and
that
even
is
if you have.
considered, in the calculation is considered, yes, that's
Yeah.
correct.
And if you have woods, typically the CM value is much, much lower for woods than it is for grass. So if you're clearing and putting in grass, it's going to absorb a lot less runoff than the standard woods would. And just the minimum time of concentration used does not meet New Hampshire Stormwater Manual, and that's what our standards are based on. The manual that was referenced in the report is an outdated
The
manual,
old manual.
and they have a new manual as of February 2025.
Right, that was looked at, the 2025 manual, New Hampshire.
Okay, the one that was
considered.
referenced in the report was the old one, so.
The new Water Act, yeah, I listed 2025.
I didn't see that, I saw volumes
Yeah,
1 through 3 is what I saw, so. So we just should have a third party review is my point,
Yeah,
I don't wanna get
yeah.
into the specifics right now, cause I think there's a lot to delve into, so I think, it would just be wise.
Yeah. Someone wanna make a motion to that effect? Or do we wanna,
Well, we probably public hearing, I was just asking Carrie, we do a public hearing and then regional impact, and then we would make a motion to ask for third-party review, and that would be the end of it tonight.
I would recommend like discussing the waivers that have been
Yeah,
requested
no,
and getting.
in terms of the
updated
formal,
stuff,
in terms
yeah.
of formal actions, that would be
Yes.
the public hearing.
okay, let's open the public hearing, for this application. Just make sure you state your name and
And I hate to sound like a scold. I said this last time and I'll say it again, this is based on the last time we dealt with a cell phone tower. This is not a policy-making body. The town meeting is the policy-making body that decides on the rules. This body simply tries to align the application with the ordinance. So we're not here to discuss the merits of cell phone towers or the dangers of cell phone towers. We're here to discuss this application versus the town ordinances. So I said, I'm gonna sound like a scold, but this is to remove the chaos that happened last time we had to deal with a cell phone tower in town. I just wanna make that clear.
Understood.
Yep.
My name is Donald Lowe. I'm the son-in-law of the property owner, Frank Woodbury, at 98 South Bell Road. I've been authorized by the family to speak to this matter. And so I'd like to visit this conditional use permit application. And so on page 49 of their application, they show the address at 91 South Bell Road. And contacted the owner, tried several times, no response. That is false. They move on to 98 South Bow Road, they say the government use tower is structurally unsound. Well, that's very true, but 2 years ago, Verizon was gonna put a tower beside that, and they're gonna put a 185-foot tower. And that site was deemed acceptable for that, they did all the studies, and it was fine. As a matter of fact, back in 2003, 2004 timeframe, AT&T was also gonna put a tower in that area. They found the site to be perfectly adequate for their needs. And again, that's a 185-foot tower. That piece of land is on the same level as what's being proposed here, it's the same elevation. So let's talk about the Hooksett Tower for a little bit. The Woodbury family has been in negotiations with the town of Hooksett, starting in 2003 and on through 2024, when the negotiations were abruptly ended by the town of Hooksett. So we don't know what happened. Obviously, we're moving from a municipal radio tower to a commercial cell phone tower, and so the lease rates had to change. And so we were negotiating those rates, and Hooksett broke off. I'm not sure what their plans are now, but I will suggest this. The tower that they have, they can replace that, and they can go another 10% higher without review, right? So it's a 165-foot tower, contrary to what is in this CUP application. They said it's about 120 feet. It's a 165-foot tower, the documentation to show that. And so if they go another 10%, that means they can go to 181.5 feet. And I'll also remind the board that that tower is part of the Capital Area Mutual Aid Pact. And so you'll be under some obligation to approve that. So if you approve this one and you approve that one, you'll have a 181.5-foot tower, possibly, a 190-foot tower within a half a mile of each other, which smacks in the face of the zoning board ordinance to limit the number of cell phone towers that we approve in Bow. And so there's a bit of a conundrum here. They also stated earlier that that land is not available. That's not true. We're open to putting a cell phone tower there, and you can do it without having to blast a 1,000-foot road up through virgin woodland. So I'm a little mystified by this whole approach. They bypassed the Woodbury family. They never spoke to us. They show here 2 through 8, South Bowden Barton Road, tried several times, no response. I'm the only house on South Bowden Barton Road in the range of 2 through 8. Nobody ever called, nobody ever knocked on the door. And so I'm not sure why this site is being bypassed, whereas it's an existing site, there's a tower on it. It's within, the current tower is roughly 150 feet from the road. There's no wetlands in question. There's no economical impact of putting a tower there, so I just can't understand why that isn't on the table. I don't believe that Mariner has met the burden of the Bow zoning ordinance, that they've exhausted all viable alternatives.
Thank you. Anybody else? Yes.
Yeah, just a question, Susan Moore, 11 Crockett Drive. There's a question about the wetlands and stormwater management. Have you taken into account the increasing rain events with increasing amount of rain per rain event?
Well, yeah, well, I think that's part of the interest that we were discussing about having a third-party review of the stormwater, which would take into account, ensure that the newer data has been taken into account.
Thank you. I just didn't catch that. It's hard to hear the.
Right, sure.
Yeah, sorry.
Excuse me. Anybody else have any comments? Yes.
Yes, Dana Woodway. First of all, congratulations, Carrie.
Thank you.
New addition. I had a number of issues, but I'm gonna jump right to the tower that Don was speaking about. Some key points here. Co-location is a higher legal priority than a building a new tower. So the ordinance requires applicants to exhaust options in order priority 3, co-locations, before priority 4, new tower. That's under the ordinance, Bow ordinance. Because 98 South Bow Road Tower is already approved and partially started, I'm not sure how far started, remains a priority 3 option. Mariner Tower is pursuing a priority 4 solution without proving that they cannot complete priority 3 option through partnership with Hooksett. And I did speak with the chief of police in Hooksett, I think 2 weeks ago, and asked about the status of the project, and he just told me it's stalled at this point because of agreement. Well, he didn't say why, he said financial reasons. So what I gather from that, it's still very active, it's just waiting for some resolution. All right, technical viability is already proven. Verizon Wireless previously committed to placing equipment at 165 feet on the 98 South Bow Road Tower. This demonstrates that the site does meet engineering requirements. Mariner must explain why a second tower only 0.35 miles away is necessary when the known viable site already exists. All right. Unreasonable cost standard is not met The ordinance says that the alternative is only exhausted if costs exceed those of building a new tower. If the only barrier is Hooksit's lack of funds, Mariner could finance completion in exchange for a lease. It's one option. Mariner must provide substantial evidence that finishing the existing tower would cost significantly more than building a new road and tower on raw land. The structurally unsound claim is misleading. Mariner dismissed the site by referencing old government towers, but a new structurally sound 180-foot tower was already planned for this location. Their alternative analysis may be outdated or inaccurate for ignoring the new planned structure. Cumulative impact tower blight. The ordinance aims to minimize the number of towers and encourages cooperation. Building a new 190-foot tower while another approved tower sits paused nearby creates unnecessary visual and environmental impact. The planning board should require RF maps assuming the 98 Southborough Road tower is complete. If coverage is adequate, the new tower is redundant. A viable, approved, technical proven site already exists at 98 Southborough Road, and Mariner Tower has not demonstrated that completing it is impossible or unreasonably costly. Therefore, they have not met their legal burden to show they exhausted all alternatives before proposing a new tower. I think that's probably the most pertinent of everything else I have here, rather than waste time. And I will just give some recommendations to the board. Recommendations or suggestions. Suggest the board have a second balloon raising and view shed done in the fall or winter when the foliage is gone. I strongly recommend that a second site visit be done in the spring when the area is saturated and flowing with water. And from years of experience, I know that water is saturated and flowing. That road proposed would be washed out in a week. I also strongly recommend that the board have Mariner Tower reevaluate their local prioritization for the areas that were skipped over with a full in-depth evaluation of the Hooksett Tower location and the owner, Alan Woodbury at 91 Southborough Road, representing Frank and Mary Woodbury at the tower location at 98 Southborough. I strongly request no approvals be granted for this Mariner Tower CPU until the above items are performed, documented, and made public. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes,
I can supply you with copies of.
okay, yeah, that would be helpful.
Oh,
You mentioned the New Hampshire DES.
You wanna give us your name?
Oh, sorry. I'm Daniel Ordway. I'm the son of Daniel Ordway. There was mention of New Hampshire DES. I looked through the packet. I couldn't find it anywhere. There was no screening from New Hampshire DES. Mariner did use the federal IPAC or IPAC tool to scan the area, which doesn't take into account local species. So I agree. I definitely think that they should use the New Hampshire DES to scan the area for endangered species and threatened species, because it's probably overlooking the spotted turtle and other endangered things.
All right, yeah, thank you. Yeah, That's why I had asked for it, because I understand that they may have also done the DES screening, but we did not get a copy of the results.
Gotcha.
Good. Thank you.
In my education, can you recap your view of the 98 South Bow Road Tower?
Sure.
This is just, I want to get out as much information as possible.
Yep, and, and Lewis has had more direct conversations, can certainly feel free to fill in anything I don't, but I think our position's set out pretty clearly in the affidavit, which is Hooksett isn't making it, even if it was structurally capable of accommodating a personal wireless service carrier, even if we all agreed it would work for a personal wireless service carrier from a radio frequency perspective, Hooksett won't make it available. Hooksett owns the tower. We can't force them to lease it.
Why? Why are they not making it available?
I don't know. I don't know
Well,
if
first of all,
Lewis knows.
the tower is structurally unsound. Okay,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Currently, right. Who's gonna build the tower? Who's gonna own the tower? They tried to negotiate a deal with the landowner and Verizon over a long period of time, and those conversations ended up failing. That was now 2 years ago. There haven't been conversations between the parties for over 2 years, for 2 years. So now the town of Hooksett is working with the state on possibly erecting a tower on state land. And the state, to be used for government purposes, for the town of Hooksett and also for the state. My conversations with the state for their tower, and their tower is structurally not sound, and they will not lease to a private party, just for municipal purposes. So included in the package was an email back and forth with the person at the state who's responsible for the tower, the state tower. And the results of a conversation with the town manager of the town of Hooksett on where they are now, what happened, where they are now. We've also talked to the carrier. Okay,
Have you talked to the landowner?
we reached out, we tried many times to reach out, and we can provide, I didn't personally have someone in my office who tried many times to do that,
What
yes.
form do they use to reach out to the landowner?
I can provide both, I think in person, in calls. But I can provide that to you. I can provide that to you.
Okay, thank you.
I can respond to this. There was one business card left a couple of years ago in 91 South Bow Road with no follow-up. 228 South Bowden Mad Road, it says in their documentation that they've tried to contact several times. That's simply not true. We've lived there for over 30 years. We've never heard from Meredith. So neither of those statements are true, but I'd like to revisit the Hooksett Tower. That was never on the table, right? That tower was, town of Hooksett recognized, I have the report with me, the engineering report that declares that tower structurally unsound. So that was never a viable option anyways. However, the land there is, and there's a lot more than 98 South Bow Road than 100 by 100 square foot area where the current tower sits. Yet that address, that piece of land where Verizon was gonna put a tower beside the existing Hooksett Tower has not come into play.
Keep in mind that we're designing a tower that is for multiple wireless carriers, not to serve, just the one carrier, it's to serve all the carriers.
So the tower that was proposed from Verizon was for 4 carriers. And now Verizon has abandoned that for this tower, which I'm not sure what the backroom dealings were that brought that about. But again, Hooksett now in a lurch. If they choose to replace that tower, as I said, they can replace it with one that's 10% higher and basically do it on a building permit from this board. That piece of land has been evaluated and accepted as viable by AT&T and Verizon. So, again, Mariner has not shown the burden of proof.
I don't wanna get into us adjudicating which private parcels of land get to have towers, it's all about the application. And I get the sense we're not gonna make any decisions tonight, but as I said earlier, we're not in the business of like saying who gets to have a tower on their land between two private landowners. We're in the business of looking at application in front of the board. I think Mike has a
Yes,
question.
yes, yeah.
Mike Wheeler, the Mountain Center Road. Correct me if I'm wrong, but the tower that was proposed by Hooksett on the Woodbury property, if they were to go ahead and try to put that tower on there, would they have to come before this board?
If it's on Bow property? Yes.
No, so
Oh.
there was the Hooksett Tower, they could increase the height by up to 10%
Donald was saying you
without.
can do it with 10% higher without coming back to us.
And then, once that possibility seemed to dissolve, and then they were talking about doing the tower with the state, that was going to be done as a governmental land use.
Oh, okay.
Because it would strictly have state and government uses on it with no private carriers.
Right.
And so that would come to the board as a
FYI.
comment.
If they want to put carriers on it, they'd have to come here.
Right.
Even the original plan, when they were going to rebuild the Hooksett Tower, up to 10% higher, it was going to add Verizon, but that was even going to be a governmental land use because the primary use of the tower was still going to be government, and Verizon was going to be the lowest on the tower and be
So what you're saying is
not the
inevitably,
primary use, yeah.
so what you're saying is if the town of Hooksett was to build that tower and have Verizon put antennas on it, then the town of Hooksett would not have to approach the town of Bow in any way, shape, or form and ask permission from this board to put that tower in place. They could have just gone and done it without even speaking to you, yes or no?
It's a question for Carrie, but.
If it was the way they proposed with Verizon on the bottom and not the primary use of the tower, then it would be a governmental land use. They could come to the board for basically just to ask for comments, and then approvals would come through the building permits. But it would not be the site plan CUP process
But
because
they wouldn't have to go through any of the same hoops or anything that a private landowner would, correct?
Correct.
Sounds good.
So I'm trying to figure out, why would Verizon choose any other spot but there? If they didn't have to jump through any hoops or ask any town for permission, they could just go ahead and build a tower, put their antennas on, and move on. Why wouldn't they do that?
Maybe they wanted a higher antenna.
They wanna be on the top of the antenna and then the bottom.
They're always going to take a higher antenna spot.
Oh, I know, I understand.
That's what's happening.
But I'm just saying, it's hard to believe that Verizon wouldn't have put that on the Woodbury property and choose another spot when they didn't have to jump through any hoops. They could just do it and have it done with and not have to worry about asking anybody anything about it. It's just very strange. Now, I was on the telecommunications committee for 2.5 years, and we mapped out the entire town, paid engineers, RF engineers to come in, and the task was to get the least amount of towers with the most amount of coverage, with the least amount of impact to the town. And they picked 2 or 3 locations in town and mapped them all out, and one of them is that location on South Bow Road. Whether it's the Woodbury location or the Woodways location, in that general vicinity on that high spot, somewhere in there, there needs to be a tower. There also needs to be one on top of Wood Hill. And then maybe in the future, another one maybe down near the schools somewhere to finally complete the whole town and give the town 80, 90, 100, whatever you could get, the most you could get for the least amount of towers. So the plan is already in place, and it's already been mapped out, and it's all on record. So this area where they're trying to put the tower, whether it's the Woodbury's or whether it's the Ordways or whatever, there is a need and there is a spot, and that's one of the designated places. So however it gets sorted out is one thing or another. It's just hard to believe that Verizon would hop all over the place rather than just put it in the easiest place possible. So it's just something to think about when you decide who's gonna put it.
Thanks, Mike.
Great, thank you. Anybody else with any comment?
I just lost the thought. But just to reiterate, unreasonable cost standard not met. The ordinance says that the alternative is to exhaust all costs, exhausted all costs exceeded those of building a new tower. And I don't think that criteria's been met. It's an ordinance.
All right, well,
That would suggest possibly that they either approach Hooksett, work with them to build a new tower, or approach the homeowner, landowner, and build an entirely different tower at that location. And two things about that location, there'd be a minimal distance from the main road, which would cut down greatly on the infrastructure. Rather than going almost a quarter of a mile up through the woods, virgin land, and covering approximately an acre worth of destruction. I think it would make more sense, much more sense.
all right, thank you.
We can't force people to do certain things. We can approve an application or deny an application in front of us. But we don't get to say, put a tower here. That's not within the purview of this board.
Well, I understand, but they're not following the ordinance is what I'm getting at specifically, and I'll supply you with all the details.
Right, part of our ordinance is making sure that the applicant has exhausted all of their options, and you do have to take into effect, did they actually exhaust all their options by going to different property owners, especially if there's already a site already constructed. Well, you get what I'm saying. I think that was what you were, the point you were
Thank you.
Right, right, okay. Any other comments while the public hearing is open? All right, we'll close the public hearing.
This is actually a regional impact.
Yeah.
I would think so.
I would think so.
It's our first one.
Yeah.
No, we've done one before.
My first one.
I'll make a motion that
Hold on,
it does.
one second, can I just
Nah.
share what Matt Monahan,
Things we get
in
excited
his
about.
staff report, Matt Monahan said he did not feel that it warranted regional, impact
From a physical
because-
standpoint, it may not, but from a
Well,
outcome standpoint.
so his point was that all the towns within 20 miles have already been notified of this application. So the effect of deeming regional impact has basically already happened. All the towns within 20 miles have been notified.
Do you agree with that?
So what would happen if you decide that there's regional impact is everything stops, the clock extends, we notify all the towns and the regional planning commission.
We've already notified
They all
the
know.
town.
So
That seems sort of needless
it's
then.
a bit redundant, but if anyone feels strongly that we need to get more input from surrounding
vote against
towns,
it.
then you can, I don't vote.
I'll make a motion that this does not have a regional impact.
I'll second.
I'm enthusiastic.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Given that they already all know anyways.
Yeah. Do we wanna make a motion to have a third-party engineer review the site plan?
Yes. So
That's
this
my
would be
motion.
specifically for reviewing the stormwater.
Stormwater,
Stormwater drainage.
Yes.
that's my motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Oh, sorry.
One day you'll get there.
Do you have a firm that you regularly use?
We often use Du Bois and King,
Town, yeah.
or Gale. I usually get quotes from both.
Other than that, there's nothing else to do on this.
So
Continue.
I have a few things I think would be helpful to at least discuss. so we don't continue dragging it out into multiple meetings. So I think as much as you can discuss and get an idea on tonight is good. So you've asked for third-party engineering review for the stormwater. Is there any interest in third-party review for the RS study part of it?
I was looking at that, I didn't know what everyone else thought and how reasonable of an ask that was.
We did that for the original, the first cell phone tower, and it was a de minimis change.
Okay.
And I'm always trying to balance out being thorough but not add
Yeah.
on extra costs.
Right.
And in my memory, it was just basically, it was what it was.
And it sounds like we might already have data to back up this location from the committee, town's items, to get this done.
I'll look at that.
The
Matt?
removal bond,
Yeah.
I have a copy of the report.
So there's a,
Or at least the
of the,
methodology.
yeah, we can make sure that.
Do you wanna see it?
There's a draft or a sample removal bond in the materials supplied. And the amount was $20,000. You know, for the last cell tower we did, which was a 190-foot lattice tower, we did 50,000. So it seems reasonable that it should be the same.
I would agree, it'd be weird not to have the same number. Unless there's something vastly different between the sites and they're, having been on both, there doesn't seem to be.
Or unless the costs are more since then?
No, this one's 20, the first one we did 50 for.
We're saying
Oh.
make it, but make them both 50.
50, right, okay.
When was the 51 done?
A couple years ago.
It was the cell phone tower.
Yeah.
Come on,
But
we have one.
prices have gone up.
Yeah, but things have gone up, that's
gonna be happening.
that's what I
I
was.
would hold that up a little bit, that's all. That's above the 50 even.
Yeah, that's
Try to throw a
what I
quick
was-
inflation cost on it, make it like
Yeah.
probably 60 honestly.
50 is already high. Like, if you look at estimates for removal, they're in the 20 to 30 or 20 to 25.
Does it leave the road afterwards? The access road and everything, if you remove a tower, does it leave like the, what does the removal of the tower do exactly? Does it remove the pad, does it remove just the tower part, what does it do? What does it entail?
Moves the tower, moves the fence, moves the meter center.
Does it remove the
I-
pad?
Your equipment.
There's,
Equipment?
I think, I speak for myself, it's very unlikely we're gonna go less than 50, since we just did it. So if you wanna make the argument, but it would have to be a very strong one if it was gonna be less than what we required of the last tower.
You have the removal estimate that's stamped by you typically stamp by an engineer. They use there is guidance and a manual that they use to come up with those costs. I wasn't involved in the other permitting, so I don't know how that $50,000 number was arrived at. I can just tell you what we have in terms of typical removal cost for a wireless communications facility, and it typically doesn't reach $50,000 for a tower. It seems like it should be more. It just isn't. When you run the numbers, and you have the PEs do what they do with their manual.
I will also note,
Excessive.
just from the experience of doing it from the last tower a few years ago, it took a little while to get the form of that into what our attorney would agree with. It went back and forth a bunch. So I can send you maybe what we did last time, so we can start that process, cause I think they ended up having to put up cash because it took and then we got the bond settled afterwards, but it took a little while to go back and forth, so.
I think what Louis is saying is, or just said to me, is the issue of it being 50 they can agree to, but when we're talking about increasing it above that, our point was we think 50 is already really high. And so understanding that you imposed the 50 on another provider or infrastructure provider, and for consistency they can agree to that. The concern was just going what we had thought of as already an aggressive estimate.
What else would you like us to discuss?
Let's see, there is a section that says that you must agree to allow maximum co-location. Now, do we have, it says there should be some sort of agreement between the town and the tower operator that says that they will continue to allow other carriers to join their tower. Is that something we can get, a document we can get, or?
I see that in ordinances a lot, I think in part because there was one ordinance, like somebody did like a model one and then it got shared and it just proliferated. Typically, typically it's a condition that you allow for co-location, and frankly, they're a tower developer, they have obviously relationships with the major wireless communications carriers. Their goal is to have others co-locate and not keep co-location off. So typically, it's a condition that, you'll allow for co-location, commercially reasonable rates. It's typically how it's been handled in my experience. Doing a separate letter agreement would effectively have that one paragraph in it. And as a permit condition, it's enforceable as a permit condition.
And same way is that the board of selectmen can enter the premises, so that would also be a condition of approval. You can go on as
I
many,
just go
take
whenever
field
I
trips
feel
whenever
like
you
it.
want.
That's great. Exciting.
What else did I pick up here? Did you go through the checklist items that Matt had pointed out last time? They seemed mostly minor, but
I don't think you did.
So many papers.
You just 77, I think.
so, solid waste, I assume there's not going to be a
There is
dumpster
not.
there. And snow storage. So some of these things might just need to be noted on the plan so that we can check them off. Just say there will be no dumpster.
That's certainly in the narrative, that that's a unmanned facility and doesn't generate any trash.
Okay. If we can put it on a note on a plan, that's helpful. And then the same with the snow storage. And then there's a few other things for the plan, like the bearings, FEMA flood map reference, soil mapping, sign location. And then lighting plan, but I think there's no lighting for it. So some of these things probably just need a note on the plan, there is no lighting proposed, and we can check all of these right off.
Well, I guess we had discussed, I think the last time, that the carrier might have some lighting on their equipment. So,
The ground level cabinets, stuff.
yes, yes.
Data listing, so those are all pretty minor things that just need to be looked at. And then I wanted to confirm the waiver requests are aligned with what we have on our list. So for site plan waivers, we would have from section 5.02J, which would be to allow the utilities to be overhead.
Mhm.
Is there any discussion about that? Does the board, you don't have to vote whether or not to grant it, but any discussion you wanna have about that?
Repeat that, please. I couldn't.
Yeah, section 5.02J of the site plan regulations, which would allow the utilities to be overhead instead of underground.
Okay,
What utilities are you talking about?
so that's a waiver there.
Power
That would be a concern.
And then the second one is from 5.02T for monumentation, and I assume that's to not set monuments around the entire large property.
Yeah, I mean, our involvement's less than 1% of the entire 57 acres.
And then for the CUP, those waivers would be, Matt put on 7.10E2B for tower camouflage, and I'm not sure that I agree that that's really a waiver request. Did you intend it to be a waiver request for camouflage?
We had listed it, I think that was how the
Yeah, 'cause-
prior tower facility was included with that same waiver.
You changed the
The ordinance
ordinances
changed.
since then.
We added an out.
There's an out, where basically, where it doesn't make sense, is the out.
So, as we read it, we still viewed the out as some sort of request, and waivers seem to be the right way to request it. If it's not, I think the right reference is still there.
Right, so now, so for PWSFs in wooded areas, they must be camouflaged to blend in with the natural character and use stealth technology unless the planning board determines that such technology would not be feasible or otherwise inconsistent with the purposes of the ordinance.
And what we discussed last time with the previous tower is like putting up a fake tree that is 100 feet above the canopy is actually not camouflaging, it's just ugly.
Like redwood,
Yeah,
like a
I mean-
redwood or sequoia tree in the middle of
It's
Bow.
one sequoia in Bow, yeah.
Camouflage has a time and place, but there
Yes.
are also places where it doesn't.
Right.
I was thinking camouflage, when it's on a building, you can camouflage it well,
Yeah.
but you're not camouflaging anything when it's 190 feet in the forest. And the other one is the 125% of the tower's height.
So what does that mean, like site control?
So that means the lease area. So they're proposing to lease an area that's 100 feet by 100 feet. So that is not equal to 125% of the tower's height.
Got it.
Maybe the applicant could explain the justification for that one?
Sure, the 125%, in terms of tower height, all still falls on the property itself. But requiring the site control of 125% requires a lease area that is vastly greater than what is typical, and typically, the typical tower site is 100 by 100, lease area, and typically a 75 by 75 foot compound. That's really all you need to provide for any of the anticipated co-location, and to gain site control over the additional acreage, which would be significant, is just requires control over an area that it's unnecessary. It's not reasonable in terms of restricting landowners' use in that area. We certainly don't need it. And with that level of control for that level of area comes a materially increased cost that makes it economically infeasible.
Why do we have that as an ordinance? What was the, like what the stem of?
That's an existential question.
I guess not everybody thinks of
is
right.
I was gonna say,
Not everybody thinks that
falls
it's
over,
also gonna be in the middle of a
Yeah,
57
so it fell down, it'd be
side.
fine.
Right.
But here, if
Okay.
it falls down, it's a tower falling in the woods.
Right
So
now it
that's-
is though, but in the future, can somebody build in the area?
You'd have to subdivide and.
Yeah.
That would have to be considered.
Maybe we.
You'd consider upon the subdivision, wouldn't you?
So it wouldn't necessarily need a subdivision. You could build something on this lot.
They could build an ADU.
Could, but if you wanted to build it.
Right where you want ADU, right next to a cell tower.
They already got a driveway up there, I mean, come on.
I mean, typically the setback provision is one more driven by property line to ensure, as you said, in the unlikely event of a catastrophic failure, that it's completely on the property.
Okay.
To the extent that somebody wanted to build something within that footprint on the property, they're the property owner, it's a known risk to the extent that there's any risk, but it's a choice they can make for themselves because they're the owner of the property, whether or not they want to do that. Versus if you put it right up against the property line, that neighbor that, is having that imposed upon them potentially without choice.
Gotcha.
Okay. Just curious. So the two waivers that are from Article 7 for the CUP, it's a little different than your normal waivers, and you have to apply the hardship criteria from 13.02B2A, so you get to pretend to be the ZBA very briefly. So we'll make sure when you consider those that we are applying the appropriate criteria.
Okay.
I think those two waivers are consistent with what was approved for the other tower as well.
And what else is on my list?
Actually, the one question that I had that wasn't really clear to me, and it could be more the scale of the plan, is when we were talking about the distance of the road from the boundary and, oh, but it's within the easement or area. What is the easement area? I see that it talks about proposed 30 feet wide access and utility easement. Is that what you're talking about, easement area?
Yes. The
Because and also in a couple of places at the bend, it looks like the fill goes to the property line. Is that, I guess,
It does appear that grading goes outside of that 30-foot, it looks like it at least.
So the grading basically is not considered the road itself, the gravel road is the 12-foot wide. The grading itself is actually grass that replaces grass, so that goes back so it's a disturbance, but it goes back to what it was before. So that's, I know you see some grading extending it beyond the 12-foot width road, but that area goes back to the natural,
yeah,
it's
but
not
it's
part
a
of the road.
permanent disturbance with fill, so.
What is the slope of that fill?
2:1.
2 to 1, so on a, generally speaking, on like a temporary impact, that's a 2 to 1 slope. If something were to erode away in that slope, it could impact the road and you wouldn't be able to repair it unless you had the easement. So from a engineering perspective in New Hampshire, if you have a 2 to 1 slope, you typically make that a permanent impact and not a temporary impact. If it's a more gentle slope, where, you know, it's not supporting a roadway, then it would be considered a temporary impact.
Well, it's, yeah, I mean, well, it's a
You can't mow
permanent
it,
impact
you
because
can't.
it's changing the ground contours. So it's a permanent impact.
Yeah, a lot of times when it's like a 4 to 1 or a 5, like a gentler slope on somebody's property, it can be considered a temporary impact if it's just minor in nature, but something of this where it's really steep, because you can't mow it. Who's gonna maintain that slope, you know, that type stuff, and if the slope was to fail, like how do you repair it? Somebody has to repair it so the road stays intact, you know?
Yeah, so all the side slopes are gonna be reinforced, so that there's no such erosion long term.
That's the hope. That is the hope, but I mean, a 2 to 1 slope is very steep.
So the mats that we
so-
put on the side slopes have been tested, they basically do the job very well.
And then I think what the chair was getting at also was, what is at the closest distance from the driveway to the property line, how close does the edge of the driveway get to the property line?
We discussed that,
Yeah.
we marked it yesterday
Okay.
with a stake at the closest point, and the center of the road
Oh,
to
It's
the,
from the edge of the road.
no, to the center of the road to the property line was 27.2 feet. Which means the edge of the road going 6 feet, was 21 feet. And then so you've got to go from 27.2 feet and subtract 15. So you get to 13.2 feet for the easement, the edge of the easement to the property line.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Question.
Sure.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, what he pointed out yesterday is the closest point that would be excavated out to the property line. Also, keep in mind that the stone wall is a boundary, and that would possibly erode the foundation of the stone wall. And I don't think that would be appropriate. And that he showed us right up to, pretty much right up to the line, and it looked like it was taking out several feet of dirt.
Utility poles.
Yeah.
Are there historic stone walls? in that?
On the
What's
city-
that?
Is it a historic stone wall?
They're all historic stuff.
Yeah, but I mean, like, you can't impact them, can you?
You can't impact them if it's a boundary, a property boundary.
Is the property boundary though?
Can't steal the rocks.
Have you
Steal the
learned this the
rocks,
hard
steal the
way?
rocks if they're on your property.
I see
see.
stone wall impacts for interior stone walls.
Okay, I just
Are
wasn't
there
sure.
impacts to stone walls that are the property boundary?
by the way, I did reach out to the State Historical Society, and I'm pending a response back about any historical value of protection with the stone walls that are proposed to be disrupted and removed. So there's still ongoing information I'd like to present to that, about that.
All right, well, we did have, they did submit information on the section 106 review, which is a historical. And if it's on the landowner's property, they have, control over that.
I understand that, but this is reaching out to the state level. I don't know, I haven't heard back.
Okay, all right, well, when you get that.
I actually did the same thing. Somebody asked me, maybe it was you, a long time ago, that question, and I actually reached out to the state sometime last year, I think, and I can dig up the email, but the answer was that as long as it's not a boundary wall, that it can be disturbed on your own property. Got it. But I'll see if I can find that email in case they don't get back to you.
Okay, I just want to make one last point here. I already read it, but cumulative impact blight, tower blight. The ordinance, Bow ordinance, aims to minimize the number of towers and encourages cooperation. I think if this tower goes through, Windsor Tower goes through, with the state tower already up there, and probably a new one, it'll start to look like Mount Unkanunic. And I think where the residents and everybody that's lived there, even the new folks, are used to those towers that exist currently. So that would have pretty much no visible impact to what they've been used to. Whereas a new tower would.
All right, well, we're looking at this tower and we'll make sure it meets the requirements of our ordinance.
Anything else, Gary?
That's everything on my list. I would just ask that if there's anything the board members feel they need to make a decision, any additional information, that you try to ask for it now.
Oh, jeez, the pressure.
I think we covered everything. I guess we move to continue.
Who has to make that motion to continue? I'll make a motion to continue applications 407-26 and 208-26 Dennis J. Ordway Trust 2023 Mariner Tower to our next meeting on August
20th.
My second.
Nice.
So all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you.
New business, old business. I cannot vote on the May 21st.
Oh, right, because Chris was
Chris was-
the person.
There's two sets?
Two sets.
Why did they not do that last time?
I think
That was-
like half the group should one meeting.
I give him one.
Yeah.
I
didn't even read them, because I just,
Yeah, most ones.
I
But I
can't vote on
just love him to
the
death.
June ones.
But I give him shit all the time, Chris. Stop wearing sandals to meetings. Pay attention.
Yeah, the pay attention is what I was reading.
Do we have a quorum? So Sandy, we can't approve the 21st minutes. There's not enough people here.
How many do you need?
Is that is 3 a quorum?
I know, I think 4 is,
I'll take a copy.
because I think that,
But when I sent you.
I will check with Carrie.
Okay, I'll take a copy. I'll put both of them.
or something.
Just gonna have to have
Excuse me?
A quorum's half of the.
More than, just over more than.
Yeah, I don't,
Oh, we can at least do the June though.
Senator had requested.
I'll make sure
Gary,
I'll
what's it
distribute
called?
it.
What's
Thank
a
you.
quorum, 3 or
I
4?
wasn't here either.
Okay, we can't do the 21st minute. meeting.
So there is no, there's no rule that says you can't vote on minutes because you weren't there.
Oh.
I don't,
It's not, if you don't feel comfortable, that's a valid
I'm gonna
choice.
stay away from that one.
It's not a law.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of June 18th, 2026.
I second.
Oh, what are we doing?
June 18th minutes.
Maybe I'm looking at the wrong one, sorry.
And
And I wasn't there,
You
so.
can't vote on that.
These the
I can vote on it,
revised.
I hope it
wasn't
wasn't
here.
here, yeah. It shows, yeah, Sandy,
There's
Yes.
revisions.
there's
Right.
revisions. So these are revised from the draft ones that originally got sent out and were posted on the website. This includes Sandy's edits.
No one sent them to me this time around.
I felt a little, you'll get these ones, don't
Okay.
worry.
So we have a motion and a second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions that people felt unneeded? Or you abstained?
Myself.
And then we're not gonna vote on May 21st minutes?
Yep.
Okay.
Can you?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Eli, getting the action.
We have, before you all leave, if you can just leave your files, I'll wait.
I'm just gonna leave everything. We need a vote to adjourn, right, Sandy?
Yeah.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thanks.
I'm not, I'm gonna wait for you to turn.